Thanks everybody for coming. I'm Gregory. Today I'm just going to be doing a little bit of a presentation on Keto 101. So the basics, kind of how to get started. There's going to be a lot of food pictures. Not really going into too much of like the science, but just kind of, I'll talk a little bit about that. Briefly go over the history. And yeah.
Rachel, what are the titles you have? What do they mean?
So those are my credentials.
Yes.
I'm told to put them up there. So I have a Master's of Science, certified nutrition specialist. I'm also an athletic trainer and a certified strength and conditioning specialist.
With all those credentials, Rachel, how did you get them in? You look like you're 14. Which is a good thing.
Thanks.
So, like, did you start when you were 2?
Something like that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started. I'll go into my background a little bit too in the next few slides. So just a little bit of an overview of what I'm going to talk about. Like I said, just what is the ketogenic diet, a little bit of history, where it came from, what is ketosis, and then what do you eat. That's going to be the main component of this presentation. And then just go into a little bit of the benefits for performance, overall health, cognitive benefits, therapeutic benefits, and then just getting started. So where do you start if you're new to keto? Raise of hands, anybody like completely new, have you ever done low carb keto before?
I've just started.
Just started? Awesome. Well, hopefully everybody learns a little bit of something today. So I always like to start with this picture because I love it. I found it on the internet a while ago. I always tell, like, all the clients that I work with, I always tell them, keto is not some gimmick. It's not just something that you can do for a little while and yes, it may see results in the beginning, but it's really something that you have to make a lifestyle if you want to really see the health benefits and the long-term benefits of it. So I always say keto is a journey, and it's a long and tasty journey. So if you know how to kind of change things up and make certain foods that might not be necessarily low carb or keto into low carb keto, that's going to help you maintain this as a lifestyle. So that's what I like to do and kind of preach and show people how to do. So that's what you're going to see in this presentation. There's going to be a lot of food pictures, like I said, and a lot of that's going to be some transformational foods and stuff that you can kind of still enjoy so you don't feel deprived. So yeah. So just a little background of how I actually got into like the whole low carb world. So I got my master's in nutrition and exercise physiology at James Madison University. And we have to do a master's thesis project for a 2-year period there. And so I decided to look at CrossFit athletes and do a nutritional intervention. And so I came across keto when I was doing the research to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't know anything about it really. This is over three and a half years ago. And I just started researching it. I became fascinated with the whole concept, dove into the literature, and kind of just overtook me. And so I ended up doing my master's thesis. I did a study looking at the effects of a 6-week ketogenic diet in CrossFit athletes. And these were non-elite CrossFit athletes. We had about 30 participants. And this is just a little bit of a background. So the study was super successful. After 6 weeks, the people who were in the low-carb keto group, which is the blue, they dropped a significant amount of weight and body fat, as well as fat mass, during the 6-week period, but they were still able to maintain their lean body mass, which is what we wanted to see. That was kind of the hypothesis of the study, is that the people in the keto group would be able to lose. It's okay. No worries. Yeah, so the hypothesis of the study was to see that the people in the keto group could lose a significant amount of body fat while also maintaining their muscle mass and their performance over the 6-week period compared to a group that was just on standard American diet. So this is just kind of showing you how I got into keto. This was the study. It got published in the International Journal medicine. And that's kind of what propelled me to continue this further on and make it my career. So what is the ketogenic diet? So just a little history if you don't really know. So it was discovered in 1924 by Dr. Russell Wilder to treat children with epilepsy. So that's kind of where keto came about. And it was very effective at that with treating epilepsy, but it kind of got pushed under the rug and forgot about because drugs came into the picture. So a lot of people said, okay, I can, take a drug. Why would I follow a stricter diet when I can just take a pill? So there's a huge surge in anti-seizure medications. That's also kind of what we're seeing today with, type 2 diabetes and all these, chronic diseases. A lot of people are saying, I can just take a pill and I don't have to worry about it. So we all know that that's kind of not true. And we're starting to see more evidence how it can do more harm than good in the long term. So although, keto got kind of pushed under the rug during that time, it was still being researched. There was still research being done. Other therapeutic aspects of it, which I'll go into in a later slide. Weight loss, health, just general health, and then also performance. So endurance, strength performance. There's still some research going on throughout this time. And yeah, so that's kind of just a brief history. And so basically a ketogenic diet, for those who don't know, it's kind of we're looking at, the macronutrients, so fat, protein, and carbs are our three main macronutrients. That's what our food's made of. And then you also have alcohol, which is also another macronutrient. So a keto diet is made up of about 70 to 80% fats, 20 to 25% protein, and 5 to 10% carbs. And this, I say this again and again, it's very individualized as well. So there's some people, which I'll talk about, I'll go into kind of the mechanisms behind it, but some people can handle a little bit more carbs than others, depends, on, how metabolically damaged you are, age, fitness level, all of that type of thing. So there's some people who can handle more carbs, some people who can't. There's some people who can handle more protein, some people who can't. So it kind of it really depends. It's an individual thing that really, a lot of people kind of think there's one size fits all, but it's not at all. But these are our general guidelines. So once again, like I mentioned before, I don't like to call it a diet. I always call it a lifestyle, just because if you don't make it a lifestyle, it's not gonna. Yes, you may see some success in the beginning, but if you start eating well and you lose a lot of weight and you just go back to what you're doing before, you'll gain that weight back. You'll get those health problems back. And so that's why I definitely look at a low carb. Low carb is a lifestyle. And so a lot of people also kind of ask what the difference is between some different diets out there. So in this chart, for the health of this together, you can see at the bottom this is a keto diet, so well-formulated ketogenic diet versus a paleo diet, Mediterranean diet, Standard American diet, and an orange diet. So if you see here the carbs on this axis and the protein on this axis, you can see that, like I said, the ketogenic diet falls into that lower protein range. And as I mentioned before, some people can handle a little bit more, some people a bit less, and then the carbs is very low. So compared to, for example, a paleo diet, a lot of people ask me what's the difference between keto and paleo. It's just basically paleo is not as of the spectrum, or not spectrum, but the cycle. So every time you eat carbs, your blood sugar spikes, your insulin spikes, and then it drops, and the higher, so for example, eating, yes?
Did you say 4 gram sugar or 4 gram carb? Or it doesn't matter?
So carbs get turned into sugar no matter what. So any type of carb will get turned into sugar in the blood.
Equal gram per gram?
Yeah. It just depends on, so like a candy bar versus a potato, it depends on, your blood sugar will spike a little bit slower depending on which one, but it'll still turn into sugar in your blood. So that's kind of the process of like a standard American. If you're eating carbs all day, that's why people are hungry all day, their sugars are always spiking throughout the day, your energy is going to be great, and then it's going to, drop lower. So what if we could kind of switch this up? And so that's where like low carb keto comes in. So if you eat like a low carb ketogenic diet, you're gonna have naturally lower blood sugar, blood glucose levels, and that will mean that you'll have lower insulin levels. So I didn't mention this before, but insulin is kind of known as a fat storage hormone. So whenever insulin is around, it's kind of telling your body, let's store everything rather than release it. So like we said in the first picture, every time you're spiking your blood sugar, every time you're eating carbs, you're spiking your insulin. And so whenever insulin is around, it's storage mode instead of, breaking things down. So if we look back here, with a low carb diet, or, minimizing the carbs, you're going to minimize your blood sugar and minimize those spikes throughout the day. And so your levels are going to fall, and that will allow your body, your fat cells, to release stored fatty acids. So because insulin is low, that allows your body to kind of tap into its fat stores and release these fatty acids. And then what happens is these fatty acids can travel to your liver, muscles, and other tissues to be used for energy. So the liver actually converts the fatty acids into ketones, and then it goes to the muscles, the tissues, and the other tissues to be used for energy. And so this process, you're not having that, like I said, you're not having that insulin spike all the time. So you're able to maintain steady blood sugar levels, steady insulin levels, and you're just overall happy. So that's kind of the difference there. That's kind of the process of ketosis. There's a lot of other things kind of going on in the background, but that's the simple breakdown of it. So how do you know if you're in ketosis? So there's a few different there's a few different kind of ways that you can tell if you're in ketosis or if you're feeling good. So definitely reduced hunger is one of the main things that a lot of people notice when they start to follow a ketogenic diet. More mental clarity, so more focus during the day, more energy, improved mood, better sleep. These are just a few of the things. And then also you can do like a blood test to test, if you're producing ketones or not. So these are just a few of the ways you can tell if you're in ketosis. So this is just a basic pyramid of like a keto food list. So you'll see at the bottom is the main things that you want to consume. Most of your diet should kind of make up the bottom, and then as you go up, it'll be less and less. So your good oils, so olive oil, coconut oil, avocados, your good fats, butter, some bacon, and then meats and fish, vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, some heavy cream, cheese, eggs, and then as you get higher, you'll have your nuts and seeds, and then berries at the top. With this pyramid, what I would change is I would probably bring the bacon up and bring the meat down and the seafood down. I like to focus on more of a whole foods ketogenic diet as your main focus, and then kind of have the other treats that I'm going to mention in the next few slides as those things that if you're craving pizza or something like that, you can find a way to have that, but still not, have to go out to Papa John's. You can make an easy keto pizza. So I'll go into that. But this is just a basic breakdown. And then the next few slides are just going to kind of look at the different macronutrients, so carbs, protein, and fat, and how different foods are composed of them. So the way we kind of break that down is certain foods are made up more of a certain macronutrient, and there's some that are those are just things you want to be aware of because, like I said, they do have a little bit more carbs. And so having those at like every single meal and you're trying to get into ketosis might not be a great idea, but still, you can still incorporate that. And then nuts and seeds and nut butters and nut flours in moderation, those are also considered fats too, but they do have carbs. And then in general, to avoid, you'll want to avoid more of the sugary vegetables. So the starchy ones, beets, corn, potatoes, fruits that are higher in sugar, so apples, bananas, a lot of those things have a lot of sugar in them. And then any type of fruit juice, definitely avoid. And then grains, wheat, oats, and then beans and sweets and candies, processed foods, milk. Milk is a big one, and milk is actually a carbohydrate. A lot of people don't realize that. Even like whole milk, the spectrum from skim milk to whole milk, if you look at the label, I think even the whole milk has about 12 grams of carbs per cup, and it's all sugar. So that's just something to be aware of. A lot of people don't realize milk is carbs.
Does that include cheese?
Sorry?
Does milk, eliminating milk, does that include cheese?
So that's going to be on the next slide, but cheese is going to be a moderate one. Well, so this is protein. So cheese is considered protein. So for proteins, what you'll want to enjoy is, meats, beef, pork, lamb, poultry, all types of seafood, anything, animal-based that's a meat or seafood is usually okay. And then full-fat cheeses, chicken broths, beefs, those are okay. I would say that the cheese, cheese still does have some carbs in it, but it doesn't have as much as like the cholesterol. Like for 1 ounce of cheese, it's about 1 carb or half a carb. So I would kind of put the full-fat cheeses in the middle of moderate to enjoy liberally. And then for moderate, for protein, in terms of meats, you're going to want to just, in moderation, you can still have, like deli meats and sausages and cured meats, but those do have some fillers and sugars in them. So I would say moderate those. You don't want like every meal to be sausage, just because that will add up. And then also it's, like I said, I like to focus more on the whole foods approach. So sausages are great, but they're still processed to some degree, same with like bacon and stuff like that. And then poultry, skinless chicken breast has very little fat on that, so has a lot of protein. So I kind of say moderation with those. If you're going to do poultry, I would focus more on like chicken thighs and those type of things. And then with dairy, like yogurts, so full fat plain yogurt, in moderation, there's still carbs in that, and they add up. Same with cottage cheese. And then to avoid, anything that's like, I say fake meat.
Wait a minute, are you saying not to eat turkey bacon?
Excuse me?
Are you telling us not to eat turkey bacon?
No, you can eat turkey bacon.
I'm kidding.
if you enjoy turkey, I have a friend who loves turkey bacon over regular bacon. That's fine. But yeah, that's fine. But like in moderation, like I said. So to avoid meat, when I say fake meat, I just mean the meat that you get like at McDonald's or something like that. Yes, you can have that once in a while if you're,
How about the meat made by corn and microprotein?
Yeah, so that would be considered fake meat too. Usually those have a lot of carbs and fillers and stuff in them too. Because corn is considered a starchy carb, so if it's made from that, then it's probably going to have high carb. And then anything that's really processed, so in terms of cheeses, like American and Velveeta cheese, they're really not cheese, they're just chemicals. So you want to, they're made from vegetable oils and they're just very highly processed. So that's something that you want to avoid too. Focus on more like Parmesan and fresh cheddar, fresh hard cheeses. Those are the ones that you want to consume instead of the processed ones. And then obviously low-fat yogurt, low-fat cheese, anything that says low-fat on it or fat-free, you'll want to avoid.
Where would your heavy whipping cream fall?
So heavy whipping cream, I would say that would be under dairy. And the thing with heavy whipping cream is you'd only use, so for 1 tablespoon, it's about half a oil, avocado oil, MCT oil, which is kind of like a more concentrated form of coconut oil, and then olive oil, and then all your animal fats. So your meats, like I said, these meats kind of fall into both the protein and fat category depending on the type, and then same with dairy, will fall into the fat and protein category. And then in moderation, or to moderate, would be cream cheese, sour cream. These are more processed dairy. They do have a little bit more carbs than like a hard cheese. And then nuts and seeds, coconut flour, those things you can enjoy, but be cognizant of them. And some of the kind of the pictures that are going to come next are going to be foods that I've transferred from high carb to low carb, and they use a lot of these things. But like I said, your main focus of your diet is going to be more on the whole foods, and then have the treats at the treat once in a while. And then to avoid for fats, any of the oils that are labeled vegetable oil, canola oil, all of those.
Is there a reason that lard and chicken schmaltz isn't on that enjoy list?
It should be.
Yeah, it should be.
Not.
I never see chicken schmaltz listed.
I think,
and yet it was.
No, that's definitely lard chicken schmaltz. Those you can definitely enjoy those. I think I didn't put it up because I just didn't have enough room. Yeah. So, but I have a list. I have a more extensive list of all this in my book, and those two are definitely on them.
Oh, good.
They're just not on this slide. And then, like I said, to avoid any of those processed vegetable oils, which are just made in factories and they're just horrible for you. So stay away from those. Margarine, anything fat-free, anything low-fat, you'll want to avoid those. So I love this picture. Does anybody that has never really gone into low carb before, they're always like, there's carbs in everything, there's hidden carbs everywhere. So it's just, learning, being aware. It takes time to really, like I said, it's a lifestyle. It takes time to really adapt this and, learn. It's a learning process. I had to go through it. Everybody goes through it. So the next few pictures are just going to be some of the pictures of foods that I make, and a lot of the pictures come from my book, the recipes in there. It's just taking high carb foods and making them lower carb. So and this is kind of a lot of people that come to me, like a lot of clients are like, I don't want to give up pizza or bagels or bread or anything like that. But there's definitely alternatives to all of those, and there's ways to make those and make them taste good. So the next few slides are just going to be food pictures. So bagels. These are, those little pizza bites that you can get in frozen bagel bites, I think they call them. These are all made low carb. Chicken tenders, biscuits, grilled cheese. These are all recipes that are in my book. Just examples of there's no limiting factor. I believe that anything can be made low carb keto if you want to. So zoodles, which are zucchini noodles instead of regular pasta. You can make crackers. Chinese food, this is a beef and broccoli recipe with cauliflower rice. Pho, this is one of the pho recipes in my book, and I use shirataki noodles, which are, shirataki noodles are basically made of glucosamine, which is a type of fiber, so they're about 97% water and 3% of the fiber. So they're very low carb, but they're very high in volume. So they're also known as miracle noodles, if anybody's seen those before. They're starting to get pretty popular. And then, like I said, pizza. So that's one of my favorite treats for me is making buffalo chicken pizza. That's my favorite snack. And then, a glass of wine here and there.
What's the pizza made out of?
So this pizza is made out of so I have 3 different dough recipes in my book. There's one it's made out of like cheese and almond flour or coconut flour. You can even make crust out of pork rinds. There's so many different things a lot of people don't think of. So that's there's tons of options. mistake that a lot of people, when they first start off, is that they see all these things and they want to, go make all of these at once, and they're having, keto bagels and keto pizza every night. So that's when we get into, there's still carbs in these. There's very, way less carbs than obviously a regular bagel or a regular slice of pizza, but they're still carbs. So they will add up if you're eating them every single day. And like I said, we want to focus on more of a whole foods approach. So having, simple meals to start is what I always say, veggies with meats, a little bit of fat. It's like perfect dinner. Or an omelet with, some meat on the side, just salad for lunch, stuff like that. But this, I always show this because I always like to show people that you can make anything low carb if you really want to. And then the last few slides, just going to kind of go into a few of the benefits of a ketogenic diet. So there's so many different benefits. These are just a few of them. Fat loss, muscle preservation, like I said, increased focus throughout the day, appetite suppressant, so you're not having that blood sugar spike throughout the day all the time, you're not having that insulin spike, so your appetite's going to be lower. Also with the increased fat and protein, you also have an appetite suppressant factor with that. Better mood, better sleep, better digestion. There's just so many different benefits that a lot of people encounter, and this is just a small portion of that. And then, so going into kind of the performance benefits, just a little bit. This is a picture from my book as well. It's kind of looking at the different fuel tanks. So like we talked about, the standard American diet, your glucose or glycogen state. Glycogen is just the storage form of glucose, or the storage form of sugar that we talked about in the previous slide. So on average, you only have about a 2,000 calorie tank of glycogen. But in terms of a fat, like your fat tank, your fat stores, you can have 80,000, up to 80,000 or more than that, just in one person. But you're never really going to be able to tap into those fat stores if you're always running on glucose or sugar. So that the slide we went through, if you're always, taking carbs in, your blood sugar is always spiking, your insulin's always spiking, insulin's always going to tell, your body to store rather than, release. So this is just showing you kind of the difference between, having access to your fuel, to your fat tank, which is what you can do by going on a low carb keto diet, and just the benefits of that. So you'll be more of a fat burner, metabolically flexible, which just means that you'll be able to process fat easier, use it for energy, instead of being a sugar burner, being carb dependent. And then just quickly looking at, this is just another kind of image looking at the same kind of thing, just in endurance performance athletes. It makes sense if you have access, if you're running a marathon and you are a sugar burner, you're only going to have access to about 2,000 calories of those carbs throughout that. So that's why you see marathoners, having those goos or, the sugar, Gatorade during the race, that's just pure sugar, versus someone who is a fat burner or fat adapted. They're able to tap into their fat source so they can use that fat for energy. So they're going to have, an abundance of that. And for anybody who is into endurance, this is a really great movie. I always suggest. It's called Run on Fat. Definitely go check it out.
So what happened to carb loading for marathon running?
Yeah, so there's a great book that it's like this big by Steve Finney and Jeff Volek. It talks all about that and the history. It's called The Art and Science of Low Carb Performance, and that will kind of go into all of that and all the misconceptions behind that throughout.
And I can personally witness that you can absolutely run marathons, fat adapted. Oh, and by the way, your GI tract will be happier probably.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you don't have to, consume all those goos and the sugar and all that stuff during the race, your GI tract, your stomach will feel better, you'll have less distress, exactly what you said. And then in terms of strength and resistance performance, a lot of people say you need carbs to build muscle and to perform well. This is a image I stole from my friend Ryan. He kind of put this together. Just a few of the studies looking at differences between athletes on a high carb versus low carb diet, and you've ever been, gotten into a state of ketosis or been low carb, you kind of see that you have, more focus, like I said, more just steady energy. So this is just showing like a brain on glucose or sugar versus a brain on ketones. And then this is another one of my favorite pictures. Being in ketosis is like seeing life in 4K versus standard definition. I think that's just a perfect analogy of what you will feel, in my opinion. And then lastly, the therapeutic benefits. There's so many different ones. This is a list that I pulled from a study a few years ago. Just looking at the different therapeutic benefits that we know from the literature, and then also that are still being studied and new studies are coming out. So, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, epilepsy we know about. And then now more research is coming out on cancer, PCOS, different neurological diseases. So there's many different therapeutic benefits as well with everything else. And this is a slide I always show. So a lot of people, when they first, hear about keto or low carb, they'll go on the internet and Google, and you can find some good stuff on Google, but there's also a lot of bad stuff or stuff that's not, some misinformation. So that's kind of where I come in. That's my specialty, is working with people and trying to help them through that phase. So I do like a 21-day challenge on my website, and it's basically like 21 days of learning all about keto, and every day is a new topic that I kind of break down. You get like an email every day, and it's just a new topic and teaching you about getting into this lifestyle over a period of 3 weeks and then beyond. So instead of just throwing information at you all at once, it kind of breaks it up. So this is what I do. And then I also just wrote a book that's kind of a play off of my online challenge, but looking at keto as, or weight loss in general, as more of a holistic approach. So it's obviously a big focus on keto and low carb, but I also go into all the other aspects that are really important to, living a healthy lifestyle. So stress management, mindset, sleep, exercise, all of those things play a role in weight loss, if that's the goal, and keeping that weight off, if that's your long-term goal, which it is for a lot of people. Nutrition plays a huge role in that, but it's also some of those other things that you have to really focus on and work on, is the stress management and those type of things. So that's what I kind of wrote about in my book, and then the second half is over 100 keto recipes. So this is my contact info, and that's my book if you want to check it out. And then this is what I always end with. Don't blame the butter for what the bread did. The what? Bad breath. Yeah, so that comes for some people get that, some people don't. It usually goes away after a few weeks. Some people it's a little bit longer. It's just something you kind of have to deal with in the beginning, and that's just because you're trying to produce the ketones in your diastole and your breath. But it'll subside after.
Why would it go away then?
Because your body's gonna be instead of weight. So the same with like if you've ever heard of testing your ketones in your urine. So that's basically when you start to produce ketones, your body doesn't know really how to use them yet because you've been a sugar burner your whole life. So your body's gonna say, okay, I don't know what these things are, so I'm gonna waste them through my urine and through my breath. But then once you start to become more adapted, like fat adapted, your body will recognize, okay, now I know what this fuel is, I'm gonna start using it. So the more you become adapted, the more you use those ketones for fuel instead of dumping them or releasing them in your breath and in your urine.
So I've been doing this for around 3.5 months, and I think my confusion in the beginning is I've always been a lean eater, right? And almost everything else, lean chicken breasts, egg whites, and all that kind of stuff, and now you're retraining your brain. One thing you didn't really touch base on is really the role that protein has with insulin, right? So, like, it's weird when I'm reaching for ribeye, it's the best thing you can take that filet and you're gonna load it up with fat, right? I mean,
Yeah. So that's also something that is it's a big controversial topic too, that's there's more research coming out about it with protein and all of that. I think it depends on the person. Some people are more metabolically damaged, they can't handle a lot of protein at once. That can spike their sugars or their insulin, and there's some people who can handle more protein than others. In terms of like a ribeye versus a filet, just like you said, if I was gonna go for a ribeye, then have a ribeye, or if I was having a filet, I'd maybe put like a pat of butter on top or something like that to kind of even out the macros. But yeah, in terms of, it's also preference too. So if you some people enjoy eating chicken breast, I would just say, add a little bit of healthy fat. So cook it in some coconut oil or some lard and add some fat to it instead of having just chicken breast with no fat. You know what I mean?
What's your feeling on peanut oil?
Peanut oil, I would say to avoid it if you can. You're not going to be able, if you're going out to eat, a lot of places use peanut oil. That's one of the things too. It's same with vegetable oils. A lot of restaurants and stuff still are using vegetable oils in their mayonnaise and stuff like that. And that's things where, if you're going out on occasion, that's okay in small doses, but I wouldn't, go out and buy a thing of
Well, I stay away from vegetable oil, all
Yeah.
vegetable oil. There's some sort of controversy. Some people say peanut oil is okay.
Yeah.
And some people say it's not okay. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of in I don't use it personally. I wouldn't use it to cook every day. I'd focus more on the other, like coconut oil, lard, stuff like that.
Where do you come down on measuring ketones?
So in terms of,
Blood testing or breath analyzing or being on the stick?
just no.
or
So
not
I would say,
at all?
I think for beginners, if you're first starting off, I think having the urine strip is a good way to measure just to see that you're starting to produce ketones. It's also a lot cheaper than the blood meters. But like I said, after time, after you become more adapted, you might see that you're producing less ketones in your urine because you're starting to use them more. And then there's also some, like with blood ketone monitoring, that's like the gold standard. But there is some, anecdotal evidence coming out now too that the more and more adapted you become, the less you'll even see in your blood because your cells are going to be using them. So I think when I work with clients, I try not to focus on the ketone number that much. There's some people I work with that they want to measure their ketones every single day. Some have never measured them before. It kind of just depends, how the way you want to look at it. I always focus more on, how you're feeling, sleep, energy during the day, focus. All of those things are more practical in my mind than kind of seeing, a number on a meter. That's
Okay.
I just want to say something about peanut butter. It's not a good thing because it has a higher omega-6 ratio, and it is not a nut, it's a legume. It grows in the ground. It has aflatoxin contamination, which causes liver cancer. And thirdly, which is the new one, it has lots of lectin. And some people are getting away from lectin, so this diet is mostly
what are your workouts like in your book?
So in my book, I give kind of a variance of workouts. So it's for people who you can, either if you want to work out at home or in the gym. There's all different types, and there's examples of different types of workouts: strength workouts, high intensity interval workouts, progression. So if you haven't really worked out before, I give kind of progressions on how to build up to that. There's just a variety: circuit training, a bunch of different stuff.
I've been ketogenic for a few years now, and for the last year and a half or so, I read a great book by Terry Walsh, The Walsh Protocol, the importance of vegetables for the microbiome and everything. And then in that book, I read, she started talking about the ketogenic diet halfway through, and it was a light bulb for me went off in my head. Wow, I can eat all these veggies and still stay ketogenic. So I've been doing that for the last year and a half. A lot of veggies, but as you mentioned, the carnivore diet, I've heard chatter about that, and then I'm hearing a lot about that this weekend too. So I'm considering it because I have a neurological disorder, and I was hoping the Walsh protocol would help me with it, but it hasn't. And so I'm thinking about maybe going carnivore, maybe getting into a deeper level of ketosis, even though I eat low-glycemic, a lot of low-glycemic veggies. Maybe I can get into deeper ketosis if I cut those out. It's just kind of bizarre to me.
Yeah, it was bizarre to me too when I started.
Insulin. Protein is going to spike insulin.
It depends on the person. But yeah, I would say if you're going to go that route, I would definitely, I would say try it out. I can't give medical advice out here, but I would say try it out and do it for a month. Don't do it for just 3 days because you're not really going to know. And that's too short a period. So if you're going to try that, I would say do it for at least 4 weeks.
You said you saw positive results when you tried it. Well, what type of positive results?
Yeah, so I always, for the past many years, I've always been a volume eater, so I've always had like big salads for lunch and veggies with every meal. So I just wanted to see if I could even just do it and just have, more just focus on meats and seafood. I noticed a lot less bloating. It's more and I noticed more energy, steady energy a little bit during the day. I still had, obviously, with, being keto for over 3 years, I have that steady energy. But I think it's what I noticed when I started introducing the veggies back in. So I did it for a month, and then I started introducing different types of vegetables. So I started introducing, like, at one point I introduced broccoli, and I had a really bad, you just didn't want to be around me when I was eating the broccoli. Yes, there you go. So broccoli, that was something